welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to show you how to fix any burnt out lights on your radio and swap in one of these boards. So let's get started. So this is what happens when you have burnt out lights on your radio. I'm going to show you today how to fix them. Just so you know, this only applies to the traditional sound system, so it may be different if you have an upgraded unit. The tools you'll need is just a ratchet with a 10mm socket and an extension. This one has a 6-inch extension. Next I have a little trim tool. I'm just using a plastic spatula, nothing crazy. You could go out and buy a set of tools, but this works and it's pretty straightforward. So to start off, turn the ignition on, put the transmission into its lowest gear to give you more clearance, put the parking brake back on. Here I'm laying down a towel to protect the finish. Next, I'm using my spatula to remove the vents. On the back of the vents, you got two connectors, one for the hazards and one for the clock. On the bottom, there's a little trim piece above the ashtray. You want to use your plastic removal tool, or the spatula in this case, to kind of give you more clearance to grab onto it. Once you can get your fingers behind the trim, just kind of start pulling towards you as you leverage the tool, and it'll kind of pop right out. At this point, work around the radio, removing all the bolts. There's two at the bottom, two at the top. Put down the towel to protect the radio's finish, and here I'm laying it down to remove the antenna wires and the electrical connectors. The toughest one's going to be for the HVAC, and it's the largest one at the bottom. Kind of took the most time to get that out. Once you're all set, just turn the car back on, put it back into park, and turn off the ignition. So to start off, this is the official part that will light up the radio from Pioneer. We got some tools, flathead screwdriver, a couple Phillips head screwdrivers as well, different sizes. First off, I started off removing the screws on the side. These hold the brackets that connect the bottom HVAC controls together. Once you got those separated, you can start removing the faceplate off the radio. A couple screws on each side. Once the screws are out, you're going to start wedging the plastic trim piece off of the metal body. There's just little plastic clips all around, so kind of pry them up and push off the faceplate. So once you have the faceplate kind of pushed off, you want to pull up, get all the buttons off the front, especially the tuning knobs. Those will get in the way. Work your way down. There's more clips on each side of the faceplate, and once it comes loose, don't pull all the way. Just be very careful. There's a cable that's connected to the display, and you have to be very careful with the connector as it's very fragile. So here you see me kind of using the screwdriver to leverage it out of its socket. So once you got that panel off, you want to work on removing the logic board, so to speak, and the display off of the panel. Get all the screws out, disconnect the display, lift it off, and that's how you would swap in the parts if you had problems with them. This time I'm just replacing the backboard. I already got the display replaced a couple years ago, and they're both separate parts from Pioneer. Pretty straightforward, just swap them out, put them back in. If you also have problems with the HVAC lights, this is how you would get to them. Just remove the bracket, unscrew the little 4 screws on each corner, pry open the little tabs, and then once you got those loose on each side, just like so, push them forward. No cables to worry about. Just remove the control box. This panel comes with 2 types of light bulbs. You've got black sockets for the display and then brown ones for all the buttons. They pop in just like so. Use a screwdriver to screw them back in. All the part numbers come from Lexus, and I'll list them all in the description. So once you have those replaced, pop it all back together, reinstall the screws. So once you guys got all the lights and the displays replaced, just reassemble all the parts back together. Here I'm also going to replace the light that's sitting inside the hazard lights button. It's a really small bulb that you can just unscrew and remove by hand. The official replacement can be ordered from Lexus. I'm just putting a new one back in and popping it back into the vents. Just a couple clips that hold it together. Once you're all set, put the radio back in, plug all the connectors in, reinstall it, a couple of bolts at the top and the bottom. The vents go back in next. So then it's just the bottom trim piece, turn it back on, test it out, and you're all set.